streaming. And
go ahead.
that
I
should
just was
do
going
it.
to say I don't have a text box, do I? Or there it is right there. A
There we
chat
go.
box.
Uh,
So, yeah, I see it right here.
Upload, press buttons. There it is. All right. Video is up. And I'm just going to share that on Twitter right quick.
All right. Let me make sure I got all my volumes turned off on this other computer, because having one computer is not enough trouble. You got to have the two.
Oh, look at that. I actually got the notification this time. For some reason, last week I didn't get the notification, but whatever.
I get them on my phone. Oh, there we go. Mute. Shut up. There we go.
That's funny. Wally Action. Will tonight's debate include a competition caution? I like it. It's a good joke.
It might.
It's a good joke. A good apolitical political joke.
Right.
Roger's joining us. He's not, well, maybe he's watching the debate in the other ear. My wife usually hangs with her friends on Tuesday on like a virtual hangout chat now that we're, doing all the virtual stuff. But her friends all wanted to watch the debate, and she's like, no, I'm good. I'm just going to do anything else. So.
Oh, Roger, I think, made a deal with his wife that he would not watch it. And he would get paid off in some kind of Polish dish.
Ooh, well.
That I don't know anything about, but maybe he'll tell us in the chat what it is.
I'll tell you this much. If, I'm not going to do it either. So if you want to send some of that down this way, feel free. Gentlemen, I guess just to move things along, why don't we go ahead and get started? Are y'all ready to roll?
Yep.
I am.
Right. Sounds good. Jeff, you've been on a few times. You know we might disappear, but with Zoom, we haven't been disappearing as much lately. It might get a little crackly or something, but you'll hear it all when we get back to it.
Okay.
And as usual, I'll bring everybody on. So off we go. Here goes nothing. Recording now. Welcome, y'all! That's right. This is a Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast, episode number 262. It's Tuesday, September 29th, 2020. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace in the PETM Podcast Studio in Atlanta, Georgia. Got a great show for you tonight. We'll get to our special guests here very shortly. Before we do, y'all know what the deal is. This podcast is sponsored by you. That's right. Go to patreon.com/PETM. Join the What You Drink Club for as little as $1 a month. Get that free koozie and some stickers. The best part is every cent this year we're once again donating to sponsoring drivers. So join the PETM Posse today. Be a part of the sport you love. Oh, that doesn't bode well for this read. Here we go. This week's show brought to you by our official sponsors at that $5 and up per month level. Aaron Bearden, Robert Kevlinger, Coleman McCallum, Eric Kepner, Ryan Keeper, Patrick Cleary, Jeff Brown, Brandon Crowd, Kathleen McDonald, Stacey Wright, Brandon Carl, Ricky Porter, Julie Bosley, Eddie Greer III, Younger Motorsports, Dave Mullins, Patrick Johnson, Brett Morris, Chris Smoke, Brett Rosado, Chad Knapp, Stacey Coleman, Lisa Chinana, Rick Houston, Sarah Embari, Evan Roller, Brad Harrison, Matthew Bishop, Matthew Camper, Harry Bolzania, Evan Jones, Les Miller, and Jumpy Bob. Hey, we got it done anyway. Yeah, that worked out. Sounds like I got a lot of breath for the show. With that said, let's bring it on. I've been wanting to do this for a while. From North Carolina, in the PETM North Carolina studio. Welcome to the show, Pregame Engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's up, dude?
Man, I got some real internet now. It's we're cooking with gas over here in Mooresville, North Carolina.
You know what's funny? I'll say it here in a moment. Let's bring on our very special guest tonight, joining us for the third time, so therefore earning his PETM PhD. He's got the bachelor's, he's got the master's. Here we are for the doctorate. MRN radio announcer and the voice of NASCAR. Welcome back, Jeff Striegel. Jeff, what's happening?
Nothing. How you guys doing?
Doing very well, as a matter of fact. We got so much to talk about. It's funny because Sherwin Comcast keeps calling me, and they're like, not calling me, but like sending me emails and texts and stuff. Hey, you need to upgrade your router and stuff. I can't remember if I told this last week or something when we were talking about internet, but I'm like, I can't watch Netflix any faster. Like, I'm good, man. I don't need any more. But sounds like you're blazing fast now, huh?
Yeah, I got the full on treatment, so to speak, when I called up Continuum, and this is not an ad read because I don't know what their longevity and sustainability of their service is, but they were like, well, we got a new customer deal where you can get like our max. And I was like, well, what's your max look like? Because when I applied online, I said I wanted the 150 down, 10 up. And that was going to be like $79 a month or
Mm-hmm.
something. And she's like, oh, no, I can do you one better than that. She's like, I can give you 500 down
Good Lord.
and 10 up
Oh, well,
for
you've got
$65 a month. And I was like, yeah, let's just fill up that cup. Let's just fill it up.
Jeff, how fast are you watching Netflix?
I've never timed it before, Rusty. I don't know. Fast enough where I haven't been disappointed, I guess.
So that's a funny thing. I think I get, Sherwin, for the numbers, you said 500 down. I think I get 16 down, and I'm probably paying way too much for it. I need to look at that bill. That's one of them things that just automatically happens, so you don't look at it, and they're probably just ripping me off big time. Before we get too deep, Jeff, you know how we start the show. What are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking what I always drink, Mountain Dew Code Red.
Code Red. Now you've got
Mountain
that sitting in a koozie tonight too. What's a koozie?
Racing awareness.
Racing awareness. I love it. Awesome. Sherwin.
I do have a backup though, just in case.
The Diet Dr. Pepper. Man, that's a staple at my workplace. I don't talk about that much, but like the Diet Dr. Pepper flows like it's in a fountain or something. I don't know. It's nice. Sherwin, what you got tonight?
Well, I got a little Maker's Mark and actually Sprite, which was a gift from the property management company for moving in.
Well, there you go.
I have no other soft drinks in the house, but I also have something local for fun because I used to do that for those who remember that have been sticking around. Old Mecklenburg Brewery, Charlotte.
Oh, neat.
Got the Copper, which is, they call it an alt beer, but it's kind of like an amber.
Yeah.
It's pretty tasty.
Very cool. I'm sitting here with the PETM special with a. I went and I splurged a little bit. I'm usually doing the diet stuff, but went with the full diesel Coca-Cola in mixed in with a little bit of bourbon there. So should be a fun night. Jeff, the last time we talked on the show was PETM 224 back in December, and how times have changed since then, huh?
They have. By the way, I just ordered a new drink because I forget when I'm on with you guys that it's not about Code Red and Diet Dr. Pepper. So I've got a special treat coming, assuming that she gets the text and then brings me my beverage of choice.
I love it.
How has it changed, man? Everything has changed, hasn't it? I'm amazed that we're at where we are, and that's to say it in a positive way, to look at where we have been and where we still are. And I'm talking about NASCAR now and how we have evolved through everything that's going on. We race at Phoenix, what was it, back in February?
Mm-hmm.
It may have been March, I'm not sure. Getting ready to go on to Atlanta, and all of a sudden it all comes to an end. And of course, it's all we have dealt with. Whether we're talking about our workplace, our home, every aspect of our life has been touched by this. And it's amazing when you stop and think about the fact that NASCAR right now is caught up. We're racing for a championship. We're back on track. We're getting ready to make huge announcements tomorrow. And all of this is going on. Thank you. It has arrived, by the way. This is for you guys. This is my beverage of choice. And some people will.
Oh man, yeah. Love it. The Seagram's, is that, so I see a watermelon on it. What else?
You're making me happy.
Nice.
I'll tell you what, you try one, you may not go back to what you normally drink. That's all I'm going to say. That is my beverage of choice. I'll put the Code Red away. We'll drink tonight.
Well, now the next question is: are you going to spike it on the ground when Ross Chastain wins?
I don't mind doing it, but the track probably would frown on it. We'd have glass all over the place. So anyway, guys, it's been crazy. I'm amazed at where we're at. I'm proud of our sport. I think you all are as well. I've read, what you guys have had to say and listened to what you guys have had to say. I think we can applaud our sport and the people that are in our sport that have brought us to where we are.
100%. And that drink makes me want to play some Jimmy Buffett.
It does.
I've got flip-flops on right now, and it's like 43 degrees outside.
Oh,
I am also wearing flip-flops, though I am not in Michigan.
And I'm barefoot. And you know what? It was funny because I've talked about it before. My wife grew up in Connecticut. She grew up in the Northeast. And she is a complete transplant to the South now, like fully in it. It was when we left work today, outside, I believe it was 62 degrees, and we both got home and we were going, I had the heater on in the truck all the way here. She's like downstairs covered up in blankets going, this sucks. And it's 62. So I'm proud of
I
it.
think we're looking at a high this weekend here in town right at 50.
Wow.
Rain and 50 is a high. So we've said goodbye to summer. I think we're saying goodbye to fall, and we're ready to
Wow.
Yeah.
No winter, please.
Right. Looks like we might have Jeff frozen there, but we'll keep moving on. Yeah, it's been Sherwin. What was it like in Charlotte today?
It was really humid but warm this morning.
Mm-hmm.
So a short sleeve polo felt like the right thing. And when I walked out of work, I was like, what the hell?
Yeah. I feel like now that you're in North Carolina, I can kind of like text you, hey, by the way, this stuff is coming. It's going to get cold a little later, buddy.
Right. Well, having been up here before in the past, one thing I noticed is Atlanta and Charlotte actually have very similar weather. The difference is Charlotte is actually, or the Piedmont area is a little bit more extreme in that the cold is colder and the hot is actually a little hotter.
Man, yeah.
Typically than Atlanta.
So, Jeff, you were talking about it, but we've heard from racers and like print media and podcasters and pit crew and folks, and now we have the broadcaster perspective on what it's been like the last few months, and we obviously see changes on TV. There's folks in mass in the introduction of the super long microphone and all that stuff. What's the radio broadcast difference been like for you?
A lot. I think we can look at it this way from a talent perspective, meaning the Dave Moody's and the Mike Bagleys and the Alex Hayden, Winston, Steve Post. We get assigned a time that we're supposed to go to the track. We used to arrive at the track hours before the race. We'd get into the garage, we'd go around, we'd visit and do notes, work together. We don't do that anymore. We arrive pretty much at the latest 2 hours before the broadcast. Dave Moody, as an example, will drive his car, rental car, or whatever right to his turn position and sit there and wait before he goes up and broadcast. Alex and I will usually leave the hotel. We'll ride in the same rental car. We'll go right straight to the booth, and we'll wait until it's time to go up. And we go up, put our headset on, and we start broadcasting. So there are days when we arrive at the racetrack the day of the race where we won't see one another until we all get back to the hotel. Mike Bagley is at his position out in turn 3. You've got Moody over in turn 1. Alex and I go up in the booth. The guys in the pits go right straight down. We don't interact. We can interact. Mm-hmm. So from that standpoint, it's been strange. I think the biggest thing, and I know that everybody has said this, is the lack of the fans. Being at a racetrack without the fans hurts. I just don't think we all recognize how important the fan base is. I guess I shouldn't say it like that. I think we all do recognize how important the fan base is to NASCAR, to the NFL, to the NBA. It doesn't really matter what sport we're talking about. But when you get there and you realize that they're not there with you, it really hits home. So we go through all these little different things. We can't do this. We can't do that. We can't interact with these people or that. But until you sit there and you recognize that there are no fans in the grandstands, that's when it really hits home.
Yeah. Have you? Did you have to do any races remotely? Like call them? I know that the TV guys in those first couple when they came back, it was all looking at monitors and stuff. Did you do any of that stuff?
We did not, and there's been no talk about the Motor Racing Network doing that ever. We actually brought it up. We've got some brand new equipment that we've introduced. I guess it was probably towards the end of June, that would allow us to do that if we felt like we needed to. Whether Alex and I, we could do it just like this, as long as we have monitors like TV that are showing the race. But the thing about radio, and you guys know this and you understand it, radio is magic because we say what we see. We have to paint a different picture than what TV does because TV can show it. We can see that Kyle Busch and Joey Logano are leaning on one another and they won't get away from one another as they work down the front straightaway or the back straightaway or whatever. We've got to paint that picture, and we've got to be able to do it in a heartbeat. So the idea of going to monitors, while it could be done, obviously, Rusty, my hope would be that we never go that direction. I'd hate to listen to a baseball game where the anchors aren't at the stadium. I'd hate to listen to a football game on the radio where the broadcasters are not in the stadium. And I would hope the same thing for auto racing.
Yeah, I got to imagine, for those few races where the TV guys were doing that, I can't imagine how, challenging that has to be. Just not being able to, just a whole different view. It's not the 360 view. It's not feeling what the fans are reacting to. And that's still a thing. You mentioned the fans. And so, fans are going by, you just don't, you're not going to, that's not something that you're going to broadcast now too. So that's all very interesting.
Rusty, I think one of the big differences, and I don't think I'm out of school by sharing this, is the fact that TV, if the three of us were in the broadcast booth for TV, we're surrounded by monitors, and we're surrounded by producers that are talking about what we need to be discussing, because right now we're showing Jimmy Johnson going around the racetrack, right? There may be a battle for the lead, but in our ear and on our screen, we're hearing talk about Jimmy Johnson. And so we're going to. And so we're looking at monitors. Well, when Alex and I are in the booth, let's say Rusty Wallace is alongside, you've got Dave and Mike out in the turns, we're calling what we think is what the listener wants to hear about at that particular moment. It could be a side-by-side battle for the lead. There may not be a battle anywhere on the racetrack, so we do decide we're going to talk about Jimmy Johnson and what he's meant to the sport. Or we may fall all the way back and go, we haven't talked a lot about the guy running in 20th, and that's Ty Dillon. So we don't have a producer talking in our ear saying, talk about this person or this battle. That is up to us to determine, and we will carry that storyline as long as we decide we want to carry it. That is a big, big difference between radio and TV.
I didn't realize that. Yeah, Sherwin.
Sorry, Rusty. Let me jump in here. I was going to ask you about that because, Rusty has had somewhat of some intimate knowledge through his professional life on how TV kind of works a little bit. I wondered what the direction that you get is, because one thing about listening to the radio is you guys very often will go through a progression where you guys in the booth, you and Alex, will talk about what's happening right in front of you on the front stretch, and then you pass it to turn 1 and turn 2 and the back stretch and 3 and 4. And there seems to be a pattern that's not really interrupted. It's kind of like, no, this is how our progression goes. And you talk about what you've seen there, and I say you as in the on-air talent, and it's not as caged as television is.
You bring up a great point there, and we get asked all the time, is there a producer talking in our ear to say, Jeff, stop, Rusty, get ready to go, Rusty, get ready to, wrap it up, Sherwin, get ready to go. We don't have anybody talking in our ear. When you take Alex and I and then put Dave out there and put Mike Bagley out there, you're talking about the fact that the four of us, just using the four of us as an example, have been working together for 24 years. I'm the baby of the group, believe it or not. And Alex has got 1 year on me, and then Moody and Bagley have been there for, 5 or 7 years longer than I have. So I've been there for 24 years. So we've been working together that long. Dave knows how I'm going to rap. and the voice inflection that I'm going to use when I drop him going into turn number 1, he'll carry it. Mike Bagley knows what Dave is going to roughly say to wrap, and listening to his voice inflection, and there won't be a tenth of a second from the time that I stop and Dave picks up, and from the time that Dave stops and Mike picks up, and from when Mike stops and Alex picks up, simply because we have worked together so long that we kind of know where we're going to drop around the racetrack, but more importantly, we're listening to the person in front of us and how they're, wrapping up the call that they have at the moment.
All while watching a whole race going on too, and calling that. But I got to imagine it becomes second nature too, almost a subconscious. Oh, my turn to talk. That's probably not on top of the mind. It is just I talk because I know it's my time to talk. I don't know. That's right. It's amazing to me. You talked about we know what it's like, and I would counter that I have no idea what it's like, but we do know that on radio and in this format that we're using here. Any sort of dead time is like, people staring at each other going, what's going on? Unless you're using it for some sort of dramatic effect, then it's totally not something you can do compared to, we've probably talked about this before on the show with you, but it's not like you can do a turn it up or something like that on the radio.
Yeah, I'm with you right there. And Rusty and I have talked about this, Jeff, about how, we started this process and we fought our battles with technology, and we just said we were going to fight through it and not worry about, going and written booth time to learn how to talk on the radio, because Rusty and I can talk to each other for days. We've proved it because we've been to like 50 race weekends together at this point. And so you already start to understand those pitches and sounds and noises that makes it feel like, okay, he's ready to pass. He's going to pass. Mm-hmm. And then, so you're ready. And then what I've tried to coach through some of the people that have reached out to us that want to do their own podcast, and I say, look, a half a second, that's your pause window. Okay. So, if you're super live and everybody has a great internet connection, you can do it. It does obviously work better live when you're in the same room because you can point at each other, you can make faces, yeah. You can kind of give an indication of when there needs to be a transition, but there needs to be a camaraderie. There needs to be a relationship there. And that's what you're talking about with you guys have been working together, more than half of Rusty and I's lives doing this thing because that's what you love and you understand exactly what everybody's going to do.
Mm-hmm. You want to know what's really cool about that? Think about this. And I mentioned that I'm the baby of the group. If we bring Winston Kelly and Steve Post in the equation, again, people that listen to us on the radio know exactly who I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Postman would be the baby of the group. He's probably 17 or 18 years with the Motor Racing Network. But here's where I want to take you. Rusty, if I was to put you in the broadcast booth with me and told you that you've got Dave Moody out there in turn 1 and 2, Bagman in 3 and 4, Winston Kelly, Steve Post, Alex Hayden is standing next to you, and so is Rusty Wallace, would you ever for a minute be afraid to throw it to any of those individuals on any NASCAR or auto racing topic?
No, that's a great point too. Like, no, I would have no issue with that. Even if I ran out of something to say and I'm like, I don't know what to say now. Hey, Rusty, what do you think? And then boom. Cause everybody has something to say, we do it on this podcast. Sherwin's sitting there right now, but he's queuing up stuff in his mind. And so, when it's, when there's a silent point, then yep, I've got this. So it's in that similar vein. Now, if I were surrounded by those people, I would probably just, have a heart attack and die of happiness. But
but think about this, and Sherwin, think about this. If we're talking about Jimmy Johnson and what he's meant to the sport, you know as well as I do that I could throw that to Dave Moody and he will give you something outstanding. Mm. So will Mike Bagley. You want to get something even more outstanding? Go to the director of the NASCAR Hall of Fame, Winston Kelly. What has Jimmy Johnson meant to our sport? Then if you want something different than what Winston can provide you, you go to Steve Post. So if you get my idea,
yeah,
I've got the best job in the world. I'm surrounded by great people. I can go anywhere and do anything knowing that I've got those individuals that surround me, and hopefully they all feel the same way. And we can actually take a Mike Bagley out and bring in a Kurt Becker or a Kyle Rickey or a Dan Hubbard. We can take a Steve Post or a Winston Kelly out and bring in Dylan Welch, who's spectacular, and you see him on TV now. You've got Kim Kuhn, you've got Jason Toy. I mean, we're surrounded by a lot of great people, and you know, we love what we do, and we try to do the best job we can.
Gentlemen, I think among all this, because I could sit here and talk broadcasting forever, because I think we do this every time, because me and Sherwin sit here as amateurs talking, and to hear a professional do this, you know, just sit here mouth agape and everything. But there is some stuff to talk about, so let's do that with the teardown. Here it is. All right. Report card coming in, first period. We got to talk the schedule. I know we got this whole race to talk about, but the big news today, well, kind of, you know, in the rumor mill over the last couple days, strong rumor mill, but you know, really today we're getting bits and pieces. We'll get more tomorrow, but certainly Chicago and Kentucky have lost their race weekends, and you know, it looks like we're going to be replacing with more road courses. We got more short tracks in the conversion of California. I had written a fantastic joke where I was going to say, what's next, a figure eight? And then NASCAR said, hold my beer, dirt at Bristol. And so total insanity, it feels like. Sherwin, what's your thoughts, you know, first seeing this?
Well, I first and foremost, I want to continue to echo the sentiment that the level of creativity that NASCAR has embarked upon should be commended. I'm on the fence about the dirt thingy, but like I said, I've said it on Twitter, if it hits, it hits. Let's see if it hits. I think it's going to be very challenging to manage, but if we look at the bulk of what we've seen, it feels like they're making the right decisions. And I don't even think that necessarily, I don't know about Chicagoland because there's that land sale deal and they're owned by NASCAR, but SMI owns Kentucky. It doesn't mean they're disappearing forever.
Right.
It just means they're not on the schedule in 2021.
Yeah. So showing that kind of whatever you want to call it, propensity to, hey, we're going to keep making these kind of changes. This is stuff I feel like the fans have been talking about for a while. Hey, mix it up, go somewhere else, go somewhere different, then come back, you know, do different stuff. So we have a professional on the line here, Jeff. Your reaction to all this?
I think the puzzle pieces are all sitting on the table right now, and I think we know what those are. We haven't seen them come together. I can't wait for tomorrow. I really can't. I know you guys feel the same way. Mm-hmm. I think the fans around the country feel the same way. Let's go back before we go forward, though, because we do have to say goodbye to some really, really good people, some very passionate people, some people that have grown up in this sport, love this sport as much as we do, and that's the employees of the Chicagoland Speedway and the Kentucky Speedway. They're going to be moving on. I mean, obviously, right? They have no choice but to move on. I hate that for them. So thank you to Chicago and Kentucky for all the great memories you've provided, and wish everybody the best. That being said, we move forward, and the rumor mill is rampant. And I think, Rusty, you said it best. You know, it sounds like it was a rumor, but now that we're getting closer and closer, it sounds like these rumors are going to come true. It looks like we're going to be headed to Road America. Fantastic. Can't wait. You bet. I'm interested to see what's going to happen with COTA in Texas, Circuit of Americas. Are we headed there or not? That one still seems to be a bit of a question mark. Homestead following Daytona. I personally like it, but that is very selfish. I don't know if that is going to sell tickets or not. We'll leave that alone. And I agree with you, Sherwin. I would have liked to have seen, if we were going to go with a dirt race, let's not affect Richmond, Martinsville, or Bristol. Then we got to figure it out. Maybe we go to Eldora, maybe we go somewhere else, but I don't know that I'm all that jacked up about putting dirt on one of our already only existing 6 short tracks. Rusty, like you said, at least at the point right now, we know we're getting California a year from now. Mm-hmm. So, but I also sure when I like what you said, A+ to NASCAR for going out on a limb and saying, folks, if you want to see us shake it up and bring you something new and exciting, stand by. Here it is. And for that, I give them an A+. Now let's see what it looks like on paper tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Go ahead, Rusty.
Nope.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and we're also hearing rumors that we're gonna wander our way into the territory of having 5 or 6 cup races. And you mentioned Road America. I wanted to see a cup race there forever. There's some rumors wandering around out in the world that says Atlanta may be in the game to regain a second race. And I don't know if that means at Atlanta Motor Speedway, or does that mean Road Atlanta? Because that rumor's been wandering around too, because as rumors be doing when there's a lot of unknowns out there in the world. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, overall A+. And you know what? If fans want to go to Bristol and watch a dirt race, I will support that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You know, I tread lightly in making light of the current situation and everything. So, you know, I always feel like I have to preface with, you know, I understand the gravity of the situation that we're in, but I would say is, Jeff, do you think NASCAR has been emboldened in a way by this year's ability to make these, you know, pretty drastic changes this year, and the response that they've gotten, and being able to say, you know what, next year we can do big stuff. We've already proven we can do big stuff. Let's keep doing big stuff.
Can you imagine what they've been going through? You know, think about the fact that they wanted to make changes. We've got a brand new car sitting there too, right?
Yeah.
That we want to roll out that we can't. You know that the idea behind California didn't happen overnight. Right. You know that. You know that the idea about Chicago and Kentucky probably didn't happen overnight. Road America didn't happen overnight. Here's my point. To your point, Rusty, we've got all these great ideas and we're excited about it. We can't wait to let the fans in Wisconsin know that we're coming. And the fans that wanted dirt, that we might put dirt down at Bristol. And then all of a sudden we get shut down and we can't even put a fan in the stands. We're also a company. We're a business. We're trying to make money at what we do. You show up at Michigan and we can't even put a fan in the stands. I can't imagine what they had to go through, because you have to believe, don't you, that they don't want to race at Michigan. And that's my home track, everybody. So I'm not trying to pick on Michigan. I love Michigan. I love the people at Michigan. I love the fans of Michigan. Mm-hmm. But if you're in NASCAR, do you want to go there twice next year if you knew that you couldn't put fans in the stands there? The first year we did it because meaning this year, we had to do it, right? We can't just cancel everything, even though we did do some of that also. But you would think that they had to work with the team at Michigan along with the political side of things at Michigan to go, hey, we're going to give you 2 races again, but we've got to be able to generate some revenue, or we're going to need to look at taking our racing venues somewhere else. It has to have been very difficult for everybody involved at NASCAR, all the way down to the track level, trying to put this schedule together.
Yeah. That dovetails, and maybe you've already answered it, but into the follow-up that I had written down, which is, what are all the other tracks thinking right now? I feel like there's been a long-standing sort of everything's fine, we're good, but it feels like, hey, we got to do something to be attractive, not just to NASCAR, but fans and everything else. It feels like maybe and again, I hate to make light of, look what happened in Chicago and all the great people, and same thing with Kentucky that are affected by it. But that could happen to us. We gotta do something different. We got to put on a different kind of show, and hopefully it's not to the point that it's over, I don't know, melodramatic or whatever you want to call it. But we really need to showcase what we have in order to stay relevant in the sport.
Rusty, if you look at it this way, how about, and we'll stay with Michigan, use them as the example. We used to go there on a Friday We all know this. We go there on Friday. The ARCA race would go off at about 5 o'clock. That was after we saw Xfinity and Cup practice and Cup qualifying, right? Then on Saturday, we'd put the Cup cars back out for another round of practice session. We'd qualify the Xfinity car.
Oh no, we lost Jeff for a moment. That's what happens in this virtual world that we're all talking about too. It's crazy. Sherwin, what are you doing if you're another track? Are you shaking in your boots?
Will we go back to qualifying?
Oh.
Will we go back to practice? Time will tell, right?
So we lost you for about 30 seconds there, Jeff, unfortunately, and it sounds like you had made a perfect point. So let's rewind by that much. You know, that we were talking while that happened, like this virtual world that we're in and the new normal of, well, sometimes that happens.
Well, I guess I'll sum it up this way and I'll make it shorter. We know that if we go back to a given track, we may have to not practice. We may not have any qualifying. It may be a one-day show. Rusty, to your point, the pressure is on the track, the team from the track, the president on down to say, come to our track because we have more than just racing. We've got music for you. We've got games. We've got kids things. We've got this. We've got that. I don't know what it's going to be. But if the track hasn't been working on that, and we all know that they have, but if the track isn't working on giving you a complete entertainment package, they've missed a boat.
Right on. Yeah. And Sherwin, we've seen it with the, ill-fated. It was never going to happen, but with Atlanta Motor Speedway, like, hey, what if we had this big casino and this big ordeal here and blah blah blah? Look at what we could do. If we get some backing and we get some some laws to change and stuff, but I see that happening. Even this was last year, I think, when all that was being talked about. But these are the kind of I guess that's the kind of idea or the kind of thinking that we need to, or the tracks need to have.
Yeah, the architecture company that they contracted produced a really cool drawing that it's not all that dissimilar from Kansas. The major difference is that Atlanta is a track owned by SMI, whereas like Michigan and Kansas, for instance, are owned by NASCAR. So they are afforded a level of flexibility that perhaps Bruton Smith doesn't have. What I'd like to see is, for those of us who've all worked in business world situations where you're not necessarily measured by the same things as your cohorts or the different divisions for the company that you work for, what I'd like to see is SMI go ahead and just say, look, we're going to start measuring our success based on the overall performance of our asset footprint and not necessarily on a single event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that sums it up perfect and can lead us into second period here. Let's talk about this Vegas race a bit. Kurt Busch, hometown hero, gets his win at Vegas, shaped by a bit of a late debris caution and another caution that came out later. One thing interesting to me, who would have thought, however many races we are, 30 races now into the season, that Kurt Busch has his win before Kyle Busch does, and how crazy that is, and how it all shaped up and came together. So, Jeff, what were your, I guess the other thing too, with the Kurt Busch win is I feel like we keep seeing folks, drivers that we haven't. It's not that we haven't talked about Kurt Busch. I mean, he's in the playoffs and he's obviously making the next round. But it's been the Harvick Hamlin show for so long. Hamlin, has plenty of points. We'll talk about that in a bit with wins and everything. But now we're seeing these other drivers stepping up and whereas first I think we thought, well, it'll be a Harvick Hamlin type of show. Now it feels like, hey, we've got a real playoff here. We've got Kurt Busch winning. We've got Brad Keselowski winning. We got all these different winners. So it's encouraging to see too.
You painted an interesting picture. You painted a picture that I'm just going to say it this way, Rusty, that I'm not sure I agree with yet. The road to the championship still goes through Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin. You're right. It's great to see Kurt Busch. I loved it. I cheer for Kurt Busch. I really do, because I think he's a genuine class individual. He has always been a guy that if you ask him a question, get ready because he's going to give you an answer. Whether you like it or not, he will give you an answer. Love that about him. But I'm not sure that there are any other players yet that are going to compete with Kevin and Denny on a regular full-time basis. That would be my biggest concern. That, and I'm afraid that you probably lost me for a minute, so I'm going to wait. Am I back?
You're good.
Oh, yeah,
You're good.
You've been good the whole time.
You guys froze.
Oh.
Rusty, you were right in the middle of drinking, and I knew that you could not drink that long, so I figured it had to be froze.
Well, now don't challenge
Throwing
me.
Some shade.
Don't challenge me.
I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, Sherwin, we had what we had at Vegas, Rusty, because of what you said. We had a debris caution. It led to another caution. It led to guys needing to come on to pit road and get tires. It turned the front of the field into the middle of the field, and the middle of the field and the front of the field, and they were able to hold off some hard charging drivers. Okay. Hamlin was right there. Harvick was right there. And until we can figure out what they've got going on, they're going to continue to win races. Sherwin, what do you think?
Well, I think what we did was we proved concept on two things. We proved concept on, boy, does being out front matter.
Yeah.
Holy cow. And I think we're going to see crew chiefs make even more aggressive calls to give their driver an opportunity to be out front. What we also saw is what colloquially a lot of us have been saying for 15 years is best wheelman in NASCAR. He may not have all the wins to show for it, but when Kurt Busch needs to get the job done, Kurt Busch gets the job done.
Right. I'll say that, Jeff, you were talking about that Hamlin and Harvick. I'm not using the right words that you were using, so this is not a direct quote, but you were talking about the consistency up front with them. And I think this, to me, the last few weeks where Harvick hasn't won has proven kind of that any given Sunday kind of ordeal, which we're setting up for Phoenix. So maybe for me it was more all the focus is on Hamlin Harvick, but hey, look, other people can win here. There are situations, whether it is debris caution, whether it is, caught a lap down, whether it's tire, whatever it is. But the way we have these playoffs set up, yes, those are the ones we're looking at, and I don't disagree with that at all. But there's this, it's almost like at my old work, I had a Kentucky basketball fan, and every once in a while he would say, "This is the year, Kentucky all the way," and I would bet $10. I used to tell him, I'll bet you $1,000 if you want, or $5,000 if it's Kentucky versus the field. Now, to be fair, I believe he won 50% of the bets with Kentucky versus the field. Because Kentucky was so strong those years. But the parallel being here, if it's Harvick Hamlin versus the field, then it's an interesting conversation when the field is showing some strength here.
Interesting. I guess if you told me that I could take Harvick and Hamlin and you guys took the field and we wanted to bet $10 on it, I'd take it right now. I'd take Harvick and Hamlin and give you guys the field. I might even take one or the other and give you that driver and the field. That's how, I don't want to sit here and etch the championship trophy with the name Harvick or Hamlin on it yet, any more than anybody else does. We want it to come right down to the last lap at Phoenix and have it be a nail biter. But I just, when I look at, if I was to do it this way, Rusty, if I gave you Harvick or Brad Keselowski for the championship, who would you take?
Harvick.
All right. And Sherwin, if I gave you Harvick or Joey Logano for the championship, who would you take?
Oh, that's a great question.
Don't hesitate.
If we're just looking at performance on the year, you can't ignore what Harvick's done.
But how else can we look at it, right?
Right.
We all recognize one very important thing. What you did yesterday has virtually no play in what you're going to do tomorrow. But we also have to go back and look at history that allows us to maybe, project what we think we're going to see in the future. Okay.
We lost his audio.
There we go. Yeah.
It's hilarious how it happens sometimes.
Well, this is one of the beauties of NASCAR is that we don't play on the same field every week. So there are some unknowns about going to a track that's different than the one we went to last week.
You know, here's we got to figure out something creative here, because it's not that I would take the bet because I disagree, but I take the bet because it's fun. And so, Jeff, we got to figure out something. You know, $10 is nobody cares. But if if I have to, what was it back when the Falcons were in the Super Bowl, and I bet with Brandon Crowd over on Lap Traffic that if the Falcons won, he had to play the Falcons song on his podcast, and if the Patriots won, I'd have to wear a Tom Brady shirt on the show, and in a devastating loss, I had a Tom Brady shirt on the show there.
Never bet against Tom Brady. I think that's we gotta. You just don't bet against Tom Brady ever, do you?
It's fair.
Well, unless you have a stake in the claim, right? I mean, Brandon's a Patriots fan, and we're diehard, tried and true Atlanta. So
I know you are.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. You know, the one thing about it that I think is interesting is that by Kurt Busch winning at Vegas, he knocked his brother to below the cut line.
Yes.
So keep
to last of the four.
Yeah.
Before we get there, because the next thing we're going to talk about is the playoff standings, let me go ahead and hit the horn here for our good friend Orange Cone. Here it is. Very nice. That is the greatest accolade you can get on the PETM podcast is have the horn blown. He did call Chase Briscoe in the I think it was in the Xfinity race there. So congrats to Orange Cone for that
Cheater!
But yeah, let's talk about that. As far as the playoffs go, and this is where I think last week or 2 weeks ago I talked about wins and how they mattered so much. This was a decent showing by Kyle Busch, 6th, and this consistency that he's had lately, but that also pushes him out of that playoff bubble, like you said there, Jeff.
If we were to have a Austin Dillon, Eric Almirola, Clint Boyer win at Talladega, that could spell the end of Kyle Busch's run for back-to-back championships. He is that fragile right now, and it's hard to believe, isn't it, that we're talking about Kyle Busch potentially not making the playoffs, Kyle Busch winless so far in 2020. How's that possible?
I don't know, especially with the tracks that we've gone to,
Right.
and the way the season has played out. You would think that there's how many times have we raced at Bristol so far? It feels like every other race is Bristol, and not seeing anything there. And I mean, it's not just that Bristol is his place, but between Bristol, we went to Texas, we went to, I just name a place really. Kyle Busch is a contender. Maybe not as much road courses, but yeah, shoot, he's got the chance there. Sherwin?
Yeah, minus the 2 road courses that we've added in the last 3 years. I mean, Kyle, I think he pretty much won everywhere until we added the Roval and then the Daytona International Roval.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like he doesn't know what he's doing. He's won on every discipline. Now, it's been a hot minute since he won at Talladega. 08, I think, is what I saw today. So that's been obviously a hot minute. But he has won everywhere, which means he's capable.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what is the piece of the puzzle that's missing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And on top of that, I mean, it's not like the rest of the field is running terrible. Alex Bowman is running really well and making a run for the next round of the playoffs. We'll see, how long he can continue surviving. But I know we always talk about this. That first round, it just feels like survival. Don't mess up. Second round feels like a tighter survival, if you will, in that, there's going to be guys with wins and playoff points and all that. And if you're not in that category, then, you really gotta show consistency. And then, the next few rounds is really about winning. Obviously last round is, but yeah, when we see folks like Bowman really strong and really consistent right now, that makes it really hard for somebody else to muscle their way in.
If you think about this, I was doing a radio show prior to the event at Las Vegas, and the question was, what kind of drama can we anticipate going into Las Vegas? And I said, there is no drama going into Las Vegas. The drama will be coming out of Las Vegas and going into Talladega, and then it will be ramped up even more so when we go to the Roval. There was no drama going into Vegas. We didn't know what to expect. You have the bottom four. We still have 2 races. Anything can happen. Now that we've been there, now we have the drama set up. We have the drama for Austin Dillon, almost in a must-win situation for him. You've got Kyle Busch below the cut line. Imagine that. Into round number 2, and Kyle Busch is below the cut line. And conversely, into round number 2, and Kurt Busch is already a winner. I mean, we touched on it, Rusty, already just a little bit, but these are things that we didn't anticipate going into Las Vegas. It took Las Vegas to create the drama that now will unfold at Talladega, which is going to just magnify the drama as we get ready to wrap things up at the Roval. Talladega is going to be awesome, and that is going to set up something incredible, I think, a week from now when we look at the Roval and who may get in and who's going to need to win in order to advance.
We've talked about it for probably 10 or 12 weeks now, at least when they came out with the schedule. And Jeff, would love your thoughts on it too, where that first round, I like the way that they have structured the rounds in a way with first round short tracks, second round almost like coin flip tracks, and then a little more consistency maybe with third round. And then obviously we've had Phoenix in the books for a while. What's your thoughts on how the playoff structure has been?
I love it. I can't wait to see what NASCAR has for us in store tomorrow. If we get that much of the schedule, if we get the whole schedule, I can't wait to see how it's released. Here's the thing that I could never understand. And let's use the example of football. I hate the fact that Michigan State, my team, has to play your team in the first game because, geez, maybe that's not a good place for us to play. Maybe if we were the last game, and you guys are Georgia Tech fans, if I remember correctly, right?
Absolutely.
Correct.
All right. So let's say that Georgia Tech's ranked number 1 in the country and Michigan State's ranked number 2 in the country, and we play each other in game number 1. And we all go, boy, it should have been later in the season. Then you put it at the very tail end of the season, and we say, boy, that's a bad place to have that game. It should have been earlier in the season. Well, the bottom line, if you see where I'm going with this, is if we got to play each other, we got to play each other. It doesn't matter if it's week 1, week 2, week 3. I've heard people say, man, you can't have Daytona as the last race of the regular season. It pays point-wise the same amount as what it would have been if we'd have ran that race in July. So I don't get that when we're negative, and there have been some people that have been negative, we shouldn't race Bristol as the last race of round 1, or we shouldn't have the Roval as the last race of round 2. What difference does it make? You've got to go there. You have to perform. If you can come out of there with a win, you're going to advance. So I like it. It creates some interest. It gives people like the 3 of us something to talk about, and it gives the fans something to look forward to. I like it, and I hope they don't change it.
Well, to beat a dead horse, opportunity is where preparation create luck. And that's what racing is probably as good as any sport at helping define what that colloquialism means.
Yeah. So, one thing I want to get your thoughts on, Jeff, too. I think it was a few races ago, and there was a driver or somebody that mentioned about Joey Logano, not having any friends, and then he has continued to sort of prove that. And in a way, this week, last week with Kyle Busch, infamously, and now this week with Chase Elliott, what is he doing that's so different, or that is so, I don't know, anti-driver? I'm not sure how to say it. Do we care?
I don't care.
Right. I don't care either.
I don't care. how many times have you heard, I'm upset with Rusty Sherwin because he raced me too hard? How many times have we heard a driver say that? I just thought he raced me too hard. Really? If you're going to drive for me, I would have no problem with somebody saying that about my driver. Well, you know what? He raced me too hard. Did he? That's good. I kind of think that's what we're there for. Ryan Newman gets ragged on all the time, right? Because he races everybody too hard. He's trying to stay on the lead lap, and we were coming up on him, and we were racing against Joey Logano, and Ryan Newman got in the way. Gotten away? What does that mean, gotten away? I suppose we can always understand racing courtesy. But if I'm Joey Logano and Kyle Busch, and we're racing for second and third or fourth and fifth or sixth and seventh on the racetrack, I don't know that Kyle Busch should expect racing courtesy from Joey Logano, or vice versa. Should they?
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
Well, I think you're hitting on a very underlying point, and I want to say this just so we get it out of the way. But what's so different about the kind of racing that we're doing right now in NASCAR makes that position matter so much more than it used to. You hear all the anthology of the Mark Martin podcast talk about how those guys, when they were managing tires, if they were fast on a long run, they'd let the short run guys go by them, knowing that they got to choose when they let them by. So they didn't slow either one of them down, but knowing they would also run them back down. Right now, the way the technology is structured, those opportunities don't exist at the same level that they did when the gentleman racers agreement was the norm.
If we go back to the Joey Logano Chase Elliott issue at Las Vegas, we were on lap 30? Correct me if you guys know exactly, but we were early in the race. And Logano comes down right across the nose. Chase Elliott dives down to the inside. Clearly he has a faster car. Clearly he is going to take the spot away from Joey Logano. I don't think anybody would disagree with that, right? And what does Logano do? Hangs a hard left, comes right down, takes the nose right off of Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott, I looked at that and I thought, Joey, what are you doing? Why are you doing this at this point in the race? That is only thing that's going to do is get you turned around and backed into the fence. Chase Elliott has every opportunity to come back and race him now, in my opinion, any way Chase Elliott sees fit. I don't have a problem with Joey Logano. My issue is only, if you're going to do that, then be prepared for what comes around. I mean, I've owned race cars and I've been on spotters, in the spotter stand talking to our driver and go, you know what? You just took the nose off of Joe Blow. You better be prepared. When he gets back to your bumper, he is going to return that favor. He's going to move you. And if Joey's not dumb, Joey knew what he did there. And if Chase Elliott gets back to the bumper, he's going to move Joey Logano. And I think Joey needs to be, Joey's aware of that. And he knows that Kyle Busch probably doesn't have a Christmas card with Joey's name on it. Chase Elliott doesn't. And there's probably a number of other drivers that don't either. But I also applaud Joey Logano for, I have the spot. You're going to have to work at it if you're going to take it away from me.
Yeah.
That's a really good explanation of the situation. And, I was listening to Brett Bodine on the Scene Vault. I love to shout those guys out.
Oh, yeah.
Major props to Rick Houston for hitting 5,000 miles. That's really cool. But you bring up another sort of not underlying, it's probably an overlying point in that, you either have to be committed to that attitude of, I show up at the racetrack with my friends. I don't show up at the racetrack to make friends. And then you have to own those behaviors as you go along, because you're right. When Alan Gustafson, 6'4", 230 pound, looks like a defensive end crew chief who's brilliant, tells his driver, next time is time. Next time that happens, I'm gonna need you to dump him
Yeah.
to prove a point. That's when Joey's got to go. Maybe I should, think about this a little bit.
Yeah. We're running up toward our time here. I can't believe it. I want to talk another 2-3 hours. I did want to get throw this thought out there, throw this question out there, make sure we got some talking points around it. But today, Chad Knaus announcing that he's moving off the pit box and into a VP of competition role over at Hendrick, and that got me thinking. The folks that they have over at Hendrick now with Jeff Gordon, Chad Knaus, all being placed in these executive positions, they're putting together a strong future-proofing or future-looking team there, and I'm really impressed with what they're doing. And are there other teams that are as well poised for the future as Hendrick is right now with the, I guess, succession plan, as I'll call it? They're doing a great job of thinking about those things, it feels like.
How about this, Rusty? Does what Hendrick did today surprise you at all?
No, it does. No, it does not surprise me at all, based on where they are headed, and this is just building that same snowball effect, that momentum of this, what I just called succession plan.
Well, and the reason why I bring that up to you is that Hendrick has been a leader from the beginning when he came in with his one-car team. And he did it right, and he built a 2-car team, and then on and on and on to, Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon and Junior and everything else that they put together. Are their cars winning today like they did back 10 years ago? No. Will they again? Absolutely they will. And I think you have to look at the leadership there that Rick has and that Rick has surrounded himself with. Mm-hmm. And let's make these moves right now. Let's get these people involved in the role that they're going to play for the next many, many years. And I think we have to look at it this way, that Roger Penske has to be close to laying out. I think his succession plan is there. I just don't know that it's completely public. I think that you have to assume that, for Chip Ganassi and Richard Childress and certainly for Joe Gibbs.
Yep. Lost him again. Hey, it's only when he's making a great point that the internet decides to do internet things.
Right. That's been a consistency of this show, which is unfortunate. We can always ask Jeff to repeat whenever he makes it back. There he is. He's raised his hand. There he goes.
I saw it.
It's all good.
Go ahead. It wasn't all that good.
No, you were headed down a great path. I think you make a good point in that it's very obvious where Hendrick is headed with their future executive management process. And you're talking about some really top level talent in the racing community with Chad and Jeff running the show.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be. Everybody knows the next CEO of Hendrick Motorsports is Jeff Gordon. That's just go ahead and etch it in stone. It's a commandment.
Yeah, one of those things. And Jeff was talking about Roger Penske and what he's starting to think about and putting together and everything. So yeah, it's cool to see, and interesting to see the future shaping up there. I'll close it out with this one, Sherwin. For me and you, Michael Waltrip. I don't know if you saw this one. He's opening a brewery in Phoenix called Two Time Loggers and Ales. How cool is that?
Yeah, so he started this as a pet project. I want to say he used Old Mecklenburg Brewing as a consultant, which is the reason why I bought that beer for the show, because it's right here in Charlotte. But yeah, that's really cool. I'm happy for him.
I'm going to take a jab here. Do you think he's going to have a nitro beer? Ayo, come on. You got to give me that one.
Well, he better. For the joke's sake.
Right.
He needs to have one. And everybody that loves beer loves the nitro stout. Or a nitro porter. It's just, they go together like, cookies and ice cream and milk and stuff. So yes, if I was him, I would absolutely make fun of that anomaly or failure or whatever you want to call it in the early days of the Cup side of Michael Waltrip Racing, because you know what? He's good at self-deprecating humor, probably as good as anybody in the NASCAR media industry.
Yeah, that's fair. Fellas, let's gas it up. Here we go. There it is, Talladega. Jeff, you've talked about it already a little bit, but what are you looking forward to most? What's your big storylines at Talladega that you're going to be following, maybe during the race and stuff, where folks are positioned?
I really think it's going to be who comes out in the bottom four. I mean, I want to see what Kyle Busch, where he falls in, but equally as much, I want to see Clint Boyer, Eric Almirola, Alex Bowman, Austin Dillon. I mean, let's face it, Austin Dillon goes there. That's a very fast car at Talladega and Daytona. There's no reason he can't come out of there with a win.
Mm-hmm.
And if he does that, who is that going to put into the bottom four when we head to the Roval? That's what I'll be watching.
Right on.
Boom.
Right on. Well, gentlemen, let's go ahead and do some picks. Let's pretend like we know what we're talking about, or at least two of us will, and one does know. Jeff, why don't you kick us off? Who are you looking at Talladega for the win?
I just told you, I'm going to go with the big upset that will really upset the apple cart. Austin Dillon will come out of Talladega with the win, and that's going to put four drivers in really difficult spots as they head to the Roval.
I love it.
That's awesome.
I am going to mirror you. Sherwin, last week, by the way, you had picked Brad, I think, for the third time in a row.
I did go 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he finished 13th. I picked Joey, who finished 14th. So, we're pretty close there. Orange Cone picked Harvick, who finished 10th there. Along the same lines, and I'm not copying, and there's no way for me to prove this, but I was thinking ahead of time, how cool would it be if it was an Almirola, Boyer, or even Kyle Busch at this point, and really put pressure on folks? I'm going with Almirola.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, so now you've introduced into my brain Clint.
I'm perfectly comfortable with that.
I'm going outside of the playoffs. Playoffs? I'm going with Ryan Blaney.
Oh, I thought you were going to go Stenhouse.
Nah, he's going to wreck.
Oh, man.
Sorry, Stenhouse fans. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. All in good fun there. Gentlemen, it has been a fantastic hour and 5 minutes plus. Jeff, like I said it before, I could sit here and talk for 3-4 hours on a single topic, and appreciate you being on. And hopefully over the course of the next however long we do get to do that. So appreciate you being on the show and hanging with a couple of knuckleheads. So and having the and bringing the watermelon to it too. So
it's going. Time for another one.
Well, I hear you.
It is. You're fresh out.
It's about time.
We all are.
About time for a refill for me too. Gentlemen, Jeff, why don't you tell the folks where they can find you? What's coming up next in the Jeff Striegel world?
I'm headed to Talladega. People can follow me on Twitter, social media at Jeff Striegel. That's about it. I'm looking forward to getting through Talladega, getting onto the Roval. We're starting to get down to excitement. I can't wait to get to Phoenix to wrap everything up. I always like to, and you know this, Rusty and Sherwin, I always like to applaud you guys for what you do, because it's guys like you that keep all of us talking every day about what's going on in our sport. So I really do appreciate what you two do, and look forward to being back on again sometime when we can spend another hour or two talking NASCAR.
Oh, we can do a 2-hour show in the off season for a show.
Well,
let's do it.
You give me all the feels with that. So, Sherwin, why don't you close us out? Tell the folks where they can find us, what's coming up.
Right. Well, you can find me at Pregame Engineer on the Twitter, at Andrew Sherwin on Instagram. You can find Rusty at Tailgate Mayor on Twitter. You can find our podcast at PETM Podcast on both Twitter and Instagram and on Facebook. And we have a YouTube channel with the same name.
There it is, PETMpodcast.com. Sherwin said the rest. Appreciate y'all hanging out, and we will talk to you next week. Can't wait to see it. Talladega. There it is. We are still live on YouTube for what we usually call PTM After Dark. But Jeff,
we skipped a segment I want to get back to now that we're at After Dark.
Okay. Which is?
Hotheads. Chase Elliott calls Joey Logano a dipshit.
That was definitely that was one of those that happens during. I don't know when you're talking on the radio during the race. Sherwin, we've talked about it before. Everybody gets a pass, right? Like, okay, he didn't really. I mean, he kind of means that, but he's not. That's not necessarily what he's. Believes in the heart of hearts. That's the reaction thing. I've called you dipshit.
Oh, of course. I mean,
in the heat of
it's
probably
creative
racing.
license of friendship right there.
Yeah. But no, that was it was definitely funny. Makes for a good sound bite for sure.
Well, so I want to get Jeff's opinion on this, and without getting him in trouble at all with his employer. One of the biggest changes that I've noticed, Jeff, because I love listening to the online scanner. The scanner to me makes NASCAR exponentially better than not having it. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest things I've noticed about Chase in the last year is that he went from Cracker Barrel to Hooters really quick on the radio. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's been MFers come out of there, and I mean, like he's like, all right, I'm established in the sport. I've got 9 cup wins. I'm here. Y'all need to pay attention to me, and now I'm just going to be me.
And did you not just answer kind of your own? You just put a bow on your own topic, I think, when you said
I force fed you the answer. Sorry about that.
Well, but I just want to say that when you made the comment that I'm established now, I think that allows, whether we like it or not, right? It allows for the rules to change. When the driver, and I don't care whether we're talking about the local sportsman at our short track on a Friday night, or whether we're talking about Formula One or NASCAR at its highest level, when you're established, you expect to be treated differently. I mean, you just do. Whether you should be or not, it doesn't matter. So to hear the language change doesn't surprise me, because I do think he's established now, and I think there are other drivers that are in that same boat as what he is. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. I'm just glad to see personality bloom, especially with all of the garbage that we've had to hear for 18 years about Jimmy Johnson being vanilla. And you're like, you realize this guy was like shotgunning beers with Dale Jr. all night long after wins when he was in his mid-20s.
Yeah.
And it's like, these people aren't angels. They're us. They're us. They're doing the same crap we are. They just have a skill set that we have no ability to realize.
Well, can you imagine being in a profession like they are, getting paid what they get paid, the expectation that they have? People don't have that kind of expectation of the three of us. We're not under a spotlight, a magnifying glass every single moment that we do anything like they are. And all of a sudden, you find yourself with an opportunity to win. You're in a position to win. You suddenly realize that you have the ability to win, and you're driving a car capable of winning. And one of you two take me out of that opportunity. And maybe you do it again 5 weeks down the road or 6 months down the road. You and I are not going to be best friends. I mean, we know that because we grew up in the sport. We grew up on watching our short track Saturday night. They may start the year as being best friends. They may end the year as being absolute enemies of one another. And who knows, at some point during the year, they probably got in a fight in the pit. So I do think it's what makes our sport, because we do see the evolution of a driver as he progresses through his career.
That's a great
point. Yeah, and I think that I think you just spelled out the reason why Chase continues to live in Dawsonville, Georgia. It's home. He's isolated when he's there. And when he's at the racetrack, it's business time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're not there to make friends. I think we all get that. There's nothing that says we can't be acquaintances and share a beer after a race. Heck, I wouldn't want it.
Whoop. Maybe lost him again. Maybe lost everybody.
No, you didn't lose me.
But I don't mind it. Go ahead. I think that you lost me there for a second.
Oh, yeah. I think you were just talking, Jeff. Let's see.
Oh, did it freeze again right away?
Oh, man.
I think I'm back now.
No, there he is.
Yeah.
It's all good. Jeff,
hey, X out of your video and see if it's bandwidth.
Could be.
What
I know we've stolen an extra 20 minutes with Jeff. I don't want to burn.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I don't want to drag it on forever either. Yeah. So this is just for the folks that are on YouTube, which is the super ultra dedicated folks. They get to see the extra stuff, and we don't want to drag it on forever because
kind of like listening to us during a commercial break, right? You
know what? I love that actually. When you guys go to break, and I mean it's like a free for all, especially with Kimmy. She's a wild ass when she knows that she's not on a hot mic on the television or the radio.
I always like to, when we go to commercial break, if she hasn't chimed in a while, I'll be like, Kimmy, yes, Jeff, sing us a song. I don't know any songs. Give me some Lover Boy, and she'll bust out and.
I love
That's awesome.
Jeff, it has been awesome again, as usual. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I know you're saying stuff to commend us, but we're just a couple jackholes who like talking NASCAR and like talking NASCAR with people, and hope other people enjoy us talking to other people. So there's a whole like third generation of things where folks probably shouldn't even care, but they do, hanging on, and for us just being able to talk with folks like you is just makes our day.
Oh yeah,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'm trying to work. Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
I was just going to say I want to do it again. I got to figure out why I'm freezing up here, especially a lot of late here. But I always enjoy doing this stuff. You guys know that, and I know that we're on YouTube, but I do appreciate what you guys do, the shows that you guys put on, the passion you bring to the show, the passion you guys bring to the sport. So, I've said it to you guys before, and I'll say it again. Anytime you want to do this and visit, have fun, get serious, whatever we got to do, I'm always happy to do it.
My man.
Well, thank you, Jeff. You are a classic example of how wonderful this sport has been to hobbycasters like us. Because you just say yes and go, I don't know what's fixing to happen, but I think these guys like the same sport I do, so let's go talk about it.
Right.
Well, and I knew that going in, so that's just a plus. I see what you guys do on Twitter, and what I always like is that we don't always agree on everything, right? I mean, that would be boring if we just all agree on everything that we do. That schedule's going to come out. I wish that schedule would have came out today.
No kidding.
Really could have broke down the schedule because, Rusty and Sherwin, I'm sure there's going to be a spot on that schedule that I'm going to say, man, that's awesome. And one of you is going to say, I don't know if I agree. We kind of talked about that with Bristol and Dirt. I don't know about that yet. Sherwin, I think if you said it, and I agree, if Dirt brings the fans out and people embrace it, you know what? Do it. Is that something that I want to see happen? Nah, not necessarily, but I'll also be the first one to say I was wrong if I was wrong, and if it really turns out to be something cool, rock and roll.
Exactly. And at this point, I really just want to support the sport, and I know Rusty does too. And, as much as I want to have some consternation around if that's the decision that we end up with and we find out tomorrow at 2 or 11 or whatever time they do it, you know what? I'm just going to roll with the punches because at the end of the day, we just love this sport. And you know what? If that's what they think is going to change the game, I say this to my guys at work all the time. I said, look, you've been presented with a set of data. The data suggests you have to make a change. I don't care that your machine is running the way you run it, well, the way you want to run it. What's happening is we're not making Q1 at 100% rate. And so I need you to go make a change so that we can justify tomorrow morning in the production meeting that we actually did something to try to impact it. And that's what NASCAR is doing, and I will applaud them for that.
Love it. Whoa, where did that go? Sorry, I'm just doing IT stuff at this point and just trying.
Oh yeah, so this is where I'm supposed to talk, Jeff. Jeff, thank you so much again. You've been so generous with us with time, and just I've asked 3 times, you said yes 3 times. That's a win for us. I think it's a win for anybody that is interested in hobbycast, like the stuff that we do. And we're going to lean on guys like you that are willing to say yes when the opportunity arises, because it always creates a great conversation. People get to learn things they wouldn't ordinarily get to learn because you have an experience and a perspective that we don't have. We try to approach it as fans. We've been involved with media, but not really, because we're not getting paid to be there. At the end of the day, you talked about Rusty. Like, how would you feel if you got to be in the booth and you had all these really just rock star radio guys that you could throw it to whenever you're like, I ran out of shit to talk about. I'm going to throw it over to Dave. And Dave can run his mouth until there's no more cars out there anymore. and Bagley and everybody else too. And Alex in the booth and stuff. It matters so much to us. And it's really hard to convey it without sounding ridiculous. But it means a lot to us that people like you are like, hey, you know what? I do this thing professionally, and I'm like the guy that's called the Voice of NASCAR. But, yes, I will talk to you about what you want to talk about in regards to the racing because I know you care.
You know what? It's also somebody who obviously loves what they're doing too. Because and I don't get me wrong, I love what I do for a living. I really enjoy it. I do not want to sit here and program healthcare software after on my hobbies. So yeah. Anyway, Jeff, we can sit here and continue to give you all the praise, but it is very much heartfelt, and we appreciate it.
Well, and I know it is, and I appreciate that. So thank you. My hope would be this, is that we always remember that we're fans of a sport, and everything that's going on in this world, which is just crazy and out of control, we can always come back. And I read a tweet from somebody today on Twitter. Maybe you guys saw it. And the gist of the tweet was, maybe we can all come together and support NASCAR as one big family. Mm-hmm. And, when you see some of the things after a couple of drivers get together and we all read what's on Twitter and how this individual's bad mouth and this one, and then it's like, man, oh man, what's going on? At the end of the day, like we were talking about before, I don't need to see Joey Logano and Chase Elliott get together and drink beers together, but I also don't need to see all of us hate one another. So hopefully, as we continue to move on with this brand new schedule, we're closing out the end of 2020, looking forward to 2021. It's guys like you that bring the positive spin to the sport. Hopefully we get the same thing by listening to the Motor Racing Network. Our friends at PRN do the same thing. And, at the end of the day, we are one great big family supporting one another. So I'll always support you guys anytime you ask, because I just enjoy doing it. So thanks for what you guys do. Talladega is going to be great. The Roval is going to be great. Before long, you guys are going to be talking about who won the championship at Phoenix. It's not too far off.
That's true.
Awesome. Jeff?
We are reaching sort of the end, right? We have, 5 races to go?
Yeah.
Giddy up.
Is there 5 or 6? Talladega, Roval. Then we go to Kansas, Texas,
Martinsville, Phoenix.
So that'd
Got
be
it.
6.
6 it is.
All right, 6 it is.
Jeff, you take care, man. We appreciate you.
We'll see you guys soon. Take care. Thank you.
All right.
Sherwin, Rusty, talk to you guys down the road.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
You bet.
And the folks on YouTube, we're going to shut this thing down. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time. Peace out.